What am I supposed to teach them?
Carpe diem. Carpe diem. Seize the day.
It was just like the good old days. And he wrote me back, he said, these are the good old days.
You read somewhere the major you apply to really impacts your application as a transfer. Depends on the school, depends on your major. Some people try to force themselves into appearing to be interested in something that they really have spent no time partaking in because they think it's going to boost their chances. We look for opportunities like that. Maybe if you have a slight interest in something that they maybe need people to study, we could play that up a little bit. But when people try to, and especially if they don't know what they're doing and they're not elegant, precise writers, they're going to appear to be doing exactly what they are, which is pandering. And sometimes these perceptions of what's in demand, what's an easier major, sometimes it's true, but other times it's not. So they're pandering and hurting their chances. I mean, the idea is to, through your essay structure, through 40, 50 different parts of your application, to be the best, most interesting version of yourself. And we can tweak that a little bit. We can emphasize certain elements, and through structuring the essay a certain way, we can fit as much information as possible into a small space, but we can't really change who you are. It could be unpaid, could lead to paid work in the fall. But I think some people, they don't understand what's actually helpful for professors with their research, and they assume more time, the better, when really they might need you to do something that's kind of specific, just a few hours a week, and that could be something to write about, that could be a recommendation, and it could also turn into a paying job in the fall. But I would just get your foot in the door somehow, seeing how you can help somehow, even if it's working at home doing data processing. That's something I think some people overlook. It seems too easy or not impressive enough, but more times than not, it leads to something that's very similar to what they were looking for in the beginning. Question, how many schools do you apply to? It really depends on how much time you have. If you had 2 months and you're busy, well, then you have to trim the school list just so you can apply correctly to a few schools. But if you're starting at the right time, if you're starting early, you really should open up that school list a little bit. You're going to have more offers, you're going to have more options. And as long as the schools are around the same caliber, there are ways that you can compare those offers diplomatically. And I help with the wording with all of that. But get in first. We've got enough to worry about. I would just encourage that. And you can always pay later. And if you can't, well, you got in and you couldn't pay. But more likely, especially if you're getting into a top school, people say, I can't afford it. And sometimes they can't. But usually they just don't want to take out a loan. They're afraid of debt, which, for some people, for some interests, for some majors makes sense. For others, it's just fear of debt and kind of silly. But usually they allow you to take out loans, especially the schools on your list. You should be okay. List of classes we kind of hinted at. That's part of a longer conversation concerning GPA. What do you think you can do well in? What are you interested in? Why are you transferring? Do we have to trigger an interest that you're going to want to foster? Is that the reason that you're transferring? That can affect the course load. What classes might lend themselves to your asking for a letter of rec? So, in short, there's a lot to consider when picking your fall classes. Right now, as a senior, finishing up your senior year, you're intending to transfer. There are a lot of factors to consider. And some people over-prioritize transferability. Now, the school to which you're applying to transfer, sometimes they have requirements that they want. Maybe they want to see, if you're studying business, transferring into a business program, they want to see that you've completed econ, macro, in micro, let's say, before you transfer, or they want to see that you have some basic math. That's different from transferability. Some people make sure they want to, every class they take at their first school, they want to make sure they'll get credit for at their second school, which seems like a good idea, but sometimes can lead them to taking classes that they don't really benefit from when we overlay the other strategies some of which I just mentioned, so far as picking classes that you can do well in, that might be able to explain a reason for transferring by sparking a new interest, potentially a minor. Classes you can do well in, maybe ask for a letter of rec. They're so worried about, this credit has to transfer, that they ignore those other strategies. You're going to probably want to go to college for 4 years, right? So, and you probably have a lot of credit. Not everything that you take needs to transfer over. Classes allow you to get that letter of rec that you need. So maybe an English seminar, that's always good. Large science classes, that's what I was saying. Large science classes are going to be hard because a lot of people are taking them to do pre-med, so it's a lot of work. And it's going to be hard for you to connect with a professor when there are 200 people in the class. Whereas if it's a 30-person writing seminar, and maybe that writing seminar is still on a topic, if you have choice, it could be on a topic in the sciences, you're shining, you're interested in the sciences, you're doing well, you're participating, and the professor, even if the professor's relatively green and kind of a new professor, you're going to be able to get a great letter of rec from that person. I mean, some people, they're so excited that to be pre-med, they're taking chem, orgo, and bio all at once. And sure, maybe assuming that you can somehow get all A's, I'm still skeptical that you can connect or plan on connecting with these professors for a letter of rec. It'd be better to take some smaller classes in which you can participate a little bit more. So still take sciences, still be true to your interest, but I see people challenging themselves a little bit too much. I see students taking on too many core major classes that if they're transferring, if their plan is to transfer, some of those they might want to save for the school to which they want to transfer. So maybe they should wait to take some of those core classes, assuming the school to which you're transferring or you're applying to transfer, that they don't have a set of preferences of classes that they want you to have out of the way. And if they have requirements, say, to take an introductory class before you start your sophomore year, they know about those, obviously. But having a class transfer as an elective, then that class allowed you to get a great letter of rec, that matters so much more. Taking the classes that allow you to get in, allow you to have more offers, allow you to have more financial aid offers, that's what really matters.
Everything that happens supposed to be, and it's all predetermined, can't change my destiny. I guess I'll just keep moving someday, maybe I will get